Good morning and welcome to your very first lecture. This is your introduction to geometry. We're going to go over the syllabus and some other important information. So the syllabus, make sure you have it in front of you while we go over this. Okay, so here is a piece of the syllabus. It should look exactly like this. Your course objectives, I'm going to let you read most of those for yourself, but primarily you're going to have a lot of vocabulary, some new notation that you're going to learn this year. Also some concepts like reasoning and problem solving. That's when we get into proofs. You're going to learn all kinds of ways to classify and apply postulates and theorems. We're also going to talk right off the bat on how geometry really gives us perspective on God's orderliness in His creation. This is your textbook. This is what it's called and what your parents should have purchased for you already. But I want to point out that you should also have your own protractor, a compass, and a graphing calculator. Okay, the TI-84s, they're the yellow calculators. They stay in the classroom. But you can also check out a TI-83 for the duration of the school year. Just have to see me after class about that. A compass and protractors will also be made available to you in the classroom, so I really would like you to have a set that you either keep at home or that you bring back and forth every day. Okay, so whichever works best for you. Okay, and this is the grading breakup of all of your hard work. It's exactly the same as it was in algebra. Your tests and projects are 40%, your quizzes and binder checks. You won't have notebooks this year. You're going to have 3-ring binders. Okay, those are also 40%. And then your homework or your daily assignments are going to be 20%. Okay, and it's going to be your WISC is primarily what your homework's going to be right now, but you're also going to do practice problems, and they're going to count for a daily assignment grade as well. Okay, and I take off for late, just as always. So if you are absent for any reason, you can find out what's missed on RenWeb, and I also have a website. We're going to go over all of that, how you're going to be able to access all the information you need even when you're absent. Okay, so class rules. I'm not going to read these to you. You have the paper, you have this PowerPoint. Basically, just be respectful to me and to everyone else. Everything else is very normal, straightforward. Be prepared, be nice, be good, and we're going to have a great year. Okay, so here's the supplies. You need a 2-inch 3-ring binder. Okay, that's a medium size 3-ring binder. Okay, you're going to have the loose leaf paper. I don't care if it's college ruled or wide ruled. It's your preference. But you do need to do your work in pencil, and you're going to still grade each other's classroom work. You probably want to have a highlighter. I already talked about the protractor and maybe a ruler. Most protractors have a little 6-inch ruler on them already, so sometimes you can get by without the ruler. And then the graphing calculator. And just for the classroom, I'm collecting colored pencils or washable markers so that when we do some interactive stuff in class, everybody will have enough. And then also sticky notes. We're going to be using those a lot as well. So here's my email for school. So if you or your parents ever need to reach me, jkirk@libertychristianacademy.org. And then here is the website. It's geometrywithkirk.blogspot.com. That's where all the videos are going to be. Also, my special email address just for submitting some assignments. I'm going to give you that here in just a minute. Okay, so your main assignment at home that you're going to submit is called a WISC. Alright, so let me talk about what that stands for. The W in WISC stands for watch. You're going to watch the video. You can pause it, rewind it, fast forward if you've already heard me say it. You're going to take notes the best that you can. So if I write it down, you should be writing it down. But it's really important that you listen, because there's things I'm going to say that you might want to write down for yourself. Okay, just like in class. So if something doesn't make sense, then you're going to write a question mark, or a really good way of doing that is to write down where in the video. So that way if I can't remember what I was saying, we can go back to the exact place in the video, watch it together. This happened at 2 minutes 54 seconds. I didn't know what happened right there. We can look at it and I can help you in class. So whenever I start to work out an example, and if you think you already know how to do it, the best practice, the best way to learn is to pause and then do it yourself. Then go fast forward to see if you got it right. So if you did, you just saved yourself time of listening to me do the problem. If you don't, you can rewind it and then watch me work it out, and you can see where maybe you made your mistake. See, it's really awesome because you can do this at your own pace at home all by yourself. So we learn math by doing. Hopefully you've learned that in algebra with me last year, and math is about practice. We know this. Okay, so the S stands for summarize. So there'll be two kinds of summary. You won't have both ever. You'll have one or the other on any night. The first one is called a guided summary, and that's where I give you specific questions that I want you to answer. So I want to make sure you really understand what the concept that we're studying really is about. Okay? And so you're going to submit any summary that we do, either the guided or the open. You're going to submit those to me in my special email address. Okay? And then on the guided summary, what I'll do is if you submit that to me, you'll get an automatic response with the correct answers. Okay? So if you realize after you submit it, oh, I didn't quite get that right, then that's exactly what your question is going to be on the last part. The open summary, I'm just going to say summarize, and it's going to be a minimum of 3 sentences, okay, or bullet points, all right? And you're going to do your best to highlight what you think was the most important 3 things that I talked about in that concept. And that's called the open summary. We won't do that right away. We're going to do a few guided ones to get the hang of it. Okay, so your summaries are going to be sent to geometrywithkirk@gmail.com. Do not send it to my school address, the jkirk at Liberty Christian Academy, because it will not reply to you. Okay, I have this one set up so there's an automatic reply when it gets an email. It's going to send you. It's kind of like that vacation while I was out. I'm out of the office today, but it'll have the information that you need to be able to ask questions. So it's super important that you write that down somewhere. Okay, so the last part of a whisk is the question. Okay, you won't submit this part to me in email. This is going to be in your notes with the watch part. Okay, but obviously if you have a question, you know you have a question. You're confused about something. Okay, these are the easiest kind to ask because you know you don't understand. If you understand everything, it's going to be harder for you to come up with a question. So there's 2 different routes you can take. You can do a discussion question, so a question that connects the video to a previous video. You can also think of a question that you think you might already know the answer to, but you want to discuss it with other students or with me. Another kind of question you can do is called an example, where you actually make up your own problem and then someone else is going to try to solve it. Okay, it has to be one you really want to know. Okay, you can't just make up questions you're not really confused about. That's not helpful to anybody. Okay, only one question is required, but if you have a lot of questions, ask as many as you need. There's not a limit on the questions. You just have to have one. Okay, so here's some examples because I really want to avoid the meaningless question. Okay, the one that doesn't mean anything to you, the student. So here's some keywords: what, why, when, where, which, how, and I've listed all kinds of example questions. You know, what is the definition of a circle? What is the difference between the definition of a circle and the definition of an ellipse? What is, what is a good start? How is, where is, when did this happen? When did the union happen? When did the truth table switch? I mean, there's all kinds of things. This is a really good place to start. If you still can't come up with a good one, I have a whole nother list for you. Comparing, contrasting, interpreting, especially vocabularies and postulates and theorems. As we get going, you're going to have, what's the main idea? What statement supports this? How is this true? I can think of an example where that's not true. Okay, so here's some more examples. And here's some even harder examples. If you get past those first two and you still can't think of something, here's where you're going to think of something to identify, develop, organize, plan. What examples can you find of postulate 4.1? You know, how do I show that I understand postulate 2.7? Okay, so here's some more examples. I think that's plenty. I think if you go back to these couple slides, if you get stuck on questioning, you'll find something. Okay, so here's some examples of what not to do. I don't understand. Instead of saying I don't understand, I want you to say on example 2, at about 2 minutes 54 seconds on the video, I don't understand how you went from step 3 to 4. Could you explain where the variable went? That's obviously, I totally made that up, but if there was a problem we were working through, give me specifics of where you don't understand. Help me, you know, I'm struggling. Instead, I want to hear things like, I'm struggling with this concept as a whole. 1 minute, 2 seconds in, I got confused. Are we supposed to be learning about area or volume? Again, I need it to be a question, not a statement. And then, of course, how many times have we heard, why do I have to learn this? When will I ever use this? You need to find a question that is a discussion, okay? Something that you need help on, all right? Okay, so let's talk about the whisk for this specific video. Alright, so I want you to open your textbook. We're going to go over pages, this is XII, if you know your Roman numerals, that's 12, but it's before the actual page number starts. Okay, so that's where we're starting in your textbook. And it's saying, what is geometry? So if you want to pause the video for a second and go ahead and read those couple pages, that's fine. Or you can just listen to me and then go back and look at what I'm talking about. But basically, geometry is a model. Okay, it's a model like a model airplane, like a model car. It's not real as far as we aren't going to be able to drive a model car for real, but when we learn how to use and manipulate the model, then we can do the real. Okay, it's also abstract. And what I mean by abstract is that some things aren't concrete, like you can't touch it, or feel it, or see it, or hear it. And you've already done abstract things in Algebra 1. When we talked about the number theory, remember we talked about real numbers and natural numbers and whole numbers and rational numbers and irrational numbers. That is an abstract idea, okay? So you've already done abstract things. This isn't as scary as it sounds. So I want you to be comfortable that this isn't going to be harder than Algebra 1. It's just going to be new and different. Okay, so why is geometry important? Geometry teaches us about God and His orderliness. Geometry is powerful because it is useful in a wide variety of fields. Things like engineering, surveying, science, architecture, building, trades. I mean, everything from mechanics, designing, navigating, even the military, believe it or not. Geometry is the development of problem solving and reasoning skills. Okay, which is every single subject that you learn in school. You're learning how to solve problems and how to reason. You're going to learn how to make logical arguments when we write proofs. It's going to be really helpful to you in English, actually, because you'll be able to write persuasive papers or research papers. Okay, so your whisk is going to include the watch section of your whisk is going to have your syllabus, and you have your whisk description, and then any notes that you just took on those last couple slides, that's your watch section. Okay, your summary section, you're going to email me the answers to these 3 questions on your own. What does the basswood picture on page 12, the Roman numeral page 12, have to do with the verses on Colossians on the next page, which that actually should say 13. I'm sorry about that. Give 2 examples of geometric shapes that you can find in creation, in God's creation, and then give me 2 examples of geometric shapes in man-made things. Okay, so once you email me at geometrywithkirk@gmail.com, automatically will bounce back the answers to those 3 questions. Okay, And then I want you to come up with a question that you have on the introduction. So if in just this video you didn't have any questions, go ahead and read the text, see if there's something that you can come up with. Alright, and I will see you in class. Thanks.